Well, I really liked Roger and Freddie, musical act. I used to consistently read over and over again. I used to record every show that was on telly with them because I left show business, and I used to write down exactly what was on the videos in a red book, and I asked my parents to read me the book just from cover to cover over and over and over again. I used to come home from school at lunch when I was 4 or 5 and put together shows and performances which would be copying Roger and Freddie, and I used to do them in my front room, and I also used to do them for my extended family when we had gatherings at my granddad and grandma's house. At the top of the stairs I used to do it, and I used to create sets at lunchtime in my lunch hour from when I was really young, from my first year at school. And sometimes I would pretend to be sick so I could stay home, but my mum got wise to that immediately, so I had to be genuinely sick. And once I was genuinely sick, I had diarrhoea. She made me go in because she thought I was wanting to come home and make the Roger and Freddie sets for the front room studio that I was creating. So I just had to walk out, I just had to run home from school, and that was a bit outrageous. But I did legitimately have diarrhoea, but of course when I was at home. Better to be ill at home than well at school. But I used to create these sets, and my dad of course would help me, and he made these wooden things, wooden crosses, so where I could stick my pictures on, but I added to them. I took his wood from the shed and made them like 3 times as big, and when he came home from work, the entire downstairs of the house was had been renovated into basically a studio, or a 6-year-old's vision of a studio. It was ridiculous. It was a very nice gesture from my dad, but I'd made it absolute madness by adding all the wood to it and modifying it, you could say. I was on my own doing it and entertaining what was basically a crowd of cuddly toys, but I remember them as really fond memories because I was in my bubble and there was no pressure and there was no responsibility, and I was just doing shows all day long to a crowd of cuddly toys from the age of literally like 4 plus, I'd say. Although obviously being quite young, my resources weren't very much. So if Roger and Freddie had a room full of balloons, absolutely packed full of balloons on the TV, my version would be like 3 really pathetic gone down balloons that I'd be dragging along to try and mimic like a really wild and colourful set. Although my Uncle Patrick actually redeemed that situation because he bought enough balloons to fill up the smallest room in the house, which was actually the porch. And Patrick also helped me with, it's impossible to buy Roger and Freddie attire, right? Because they used to, one of the most famous looks is that they had black and white socks, stripes, black and white striped socks. Impossible to find. In fact, the only thing that we could find was women's tights that we could then cut down to size and make into socks. So when I was buying them with him at the age of about 7, the cashier, trying to be nice to a kid, said, "Oh, are these for you?" as a joke. And I said, "Well, yeah, actually they are." She thought I had a sense of humour, but I was telling the truth. While I was dressed up as Roger and Freddie, I thought it would impress the girl next door, so I went round and knocked on the door. It was something ridiculous, like 5 AM on a Sunday morning, and she was like older, a teenager, and her parents had gone away, so she did open the door. And I thought it would go down well. She said, "Why are you dressed like a fucker?" When I got a bit older, the scripts I would write for my shows would go away from just copying Roger and Freddie, and they'd be my own scripts. And trouble started with that, because my mum had to drive to school to actually come into school to confiscate a script that she found me having wrote. Because when I was about 10 I wrote one called Ribbed Nobbler or something like that. I didn't know what they meant. So she came to school to confiscate that. And there's also they used to have OHP, overhead projectors at school, to put on the wall these school hymns that we'd all sing in assembly. And I took one of their hymns, one of their sheets, and I modified it. I made it into a song about rape, and I again didn't know what that meant. But I knew it would be like shocking and get attention. And she found my plan for that. So she had to come into school, and just seconds before it was going to go live to the whole assembly, that was removed, that was saved, the assembly was saved. There were loads of things I sort of did, I didn't know what I was doing. I made a dildo out of a toilet roll. It looks something like this, but I painted the top purple, and Obviously it's not life size, it's a bit smaller. Did magic shows for my neighbour Audrey, and one particularly outrageous one was that I think I've always confused popularity with attention, and you can easily, hard to get popular, really easy to get attention by just being shocking. I did it in quite a constructive way for a very young kid, because I was very young, and I didn't kill them, but I noted when I saw dead bees on the floor and dead wasps. I said to Audrey, there's going to be a magic show from me later on today, and I'm going to make the smile on your face disappear, because obviously she was watching a kid next door in me, and it was all happy and that, and I said I'm going to make a smile disappear, and it did disappear when I opened my mouth later on in the show, and she found that it was just full of dead bees, and I said hold out your hand, and then I spat it onto her hand, and it was with loads of dead bees and fake blood that I'd made. And that, coming from a 6 or 7 year old, is shocking. And the smile on her face did disappear. And I don't think she ever got it back. Miserable. Put on blindfolds, did a magic trick to the whole street. The whole street watched the magic trick. And it was when I remember I wore a blindfold and I rode a bike down a really thin part of the street. That was good sort of attention. I was like always performing, really. I really liked magic. I really liked Penn and Teller, and I'd meet them later on, which we'll get to. I met them later on in life. And I used to do shows for the neighbourhood. There was this one woman who I managed to fool until she said she cottoned on to what I was doing, but I fooled her for quite a long time when I was a little kid. I used to order magic tricks by post. There was a place called Deceptions, and I used to get all my tricks sent there. I used to spend all my pocket money on them. And my mum and dad got me a Paul Daniels magic set. When I went to bed every night, my dad would read a trick, show me the trick in the morning, then teach me how to do it. And while he did that, when I was in bed, my mum used to spend her time drawing Mr. Men for me. They really cared for me. Even when I was asleep, they were thinking of ways to look after me and make me happy. Speaking of which, like I used to like Rainbow as much as I used to like Roger and Freddie. Actually, it's taken over as I like Rainbow more now. And I saw them live too. And I used to colour in pictures of Rainbow, and my dad would mark them and give me the results when I woke up. Well, my sister was born on April Fool's Day, so when we told my family, my extended family, they obviously thought that I was joking and lying and things like that. She apparently got me some presents when she was born, some models of clowns. My parents presented me them, and they said, oh look, your sister's just been born, she's got you these presents. I thought, well obviously not, because she's just been born, but thank you Mum and Dad for the gesture. I think I was about 4 at the time. We were best friends, and I shared all my sweets and things like that with her, and all the other parents at school they said that was really nice, and that they'd really like 2 siblings like us, because I did do that. I looked after her. To my sister, they're funny family memories. Like, my sister laughs at this, but in retrospect it sounds quite savage, some of the things that I would play tricks on her with, because I told her when she was very young, she was watching Top of the Pops, a music show over here in England, and I said to her, oh, I've signed you up to be in a band, and you're going to be doing a show in our front room, and the streets outside, don't look, but the streets outside are actually full up with thousands of fans queuing to see you sing, so you have to practice now. I wrote the song with her. She was very young, like 4 or 5 or something, me being older, and quickly performed the song as a practice, thinking that there were these thousands of people that were queuing up to waiting to come and see her. Bizarrely, I also used to say that I was somewhat... She remembers it as a character called Tuck, which I don't remember that. But I used to just walk into the room and say, oh, I'm not Edward, I'm not me, I'm Tuck. But I used to look exactly the same, and I'd wear my clothes, I looked exactly the same, but she believed it so much that she talked to us as 2 separate people, and once it backfired on me, because I like surprises. She said, oh, hi Tuck, look at what I got Edward for his birthday, look at what my mum and I got Edward for his birthday, and just revealed all the presents to me. Just absolute madness, because I threw a apple I threw an apple down the bottom of the garden. I didn't know my sister was there, and it hit her in the eye, and it swelled up and became a black eye. And I got really told off for it by my parents. And then we went back out into the garden to play, and she was down the bottom of the garden as well. And as a joke, I picked up another apple, and I said, "Oh, Betty, look at this," and I threw it as far away from her as I could as a joke, and it just defied the laws of physics, span round in the air, and hit her again right in the same eye. Unbelievable. My parents were really nice, but I think I was I was never malicious, but I was described as a massive handful of work. And there was this one where one Sunday night, obviously my dad was trying to rest for another week at work, and I was in a sleeping bag pretending to be a caterpillar. I was pretending to be a caterpillar singing 2 + 2 is 4, 4 + 4 is 8, and he came in and you ripped the sleeping bag, like tipped it upside down like you would upside down, like if you were emptying a bag of potatoes. Tipped the sleeping bag upside down. I came out and said, bloody good act or something. Ladies and gentlemen, this really is insane. That split-second footage that you saw earlier of these stairs at my granddad's house, well, I didn't have a camera back then, nor did I take any pictures of the stairs. So I saw that my granddad's house, and my granddad's already died, was for sale. So I went round with my family and shot footage of the house, claiming that we were going to be taking it back to my dad, who was interested in buying the house. We had no interest in buying, but I wanted that split-second footage of the stairs. Absolutely true, and absolute madness.
Is he allowed to film the rooms? Only... Or would you rather not? Only my husband couldn't get away from work. I booked it all yesterday to come at 4:30, and he stuck down in Oxford and he couldn't come. So is that all right or not?
Yeah, that's no problem.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a shame they're all wet and that.
Yeah, tuck your trousers up, Edward. You don't want to get the carpet wet, do you?
And also, back in the day, before I had a camera and we were selling the house, I actually took some shavings from the banister and some wallpaper off and things like that, and put it in a scrapbook and scanned it, and that's what you see here. Mental.